What's going on, guys? The 2021 NHL Stanley Cup playoffs start tomorrow. So in this video, I'm giving you my predictions, as well later on, we're actually going to compare my predictions to an NHL 21 simulation. So I'm using the NHL bracket challenge for this. I'm going to get right into it here, guys. Starting off with the North Division, the Canadian Division. We have Toronto versus Montreal. For me, this is a pretty easy one. Sorry, Canadiens fans, but I feel like Toronto is the much better team. I think, they're one of the better teams in the NHL. Montreal is pretty mediocre. They're actually outside the top 16. So if it wasn't for, being the Canadian division, if they were back in the East, say, they probably wouldn't have made the playoffs this year. Other matchup there, you have Edmonton and Winnipeg. Edmonton, I think it's hard to bet against McDavid Draisaitl, especially the season McDavid's having. There's no way he wants to be one and done in these playoffs. I think he's going to find another level. Now, if Connor Hellebuyck kind of just goes God mode for the Jets, maybe he can seal in the series. Also, I'm sure most of you know I'm a huge McDavid fan, so it's really tough for me to pick against him. I feel like they have to be matched up with a very good team, and I don't feel like the Jets are quite there yet, so I'm going to take the Oilers there in round one. Number of games doesn't really matter. I'll go 5 for the Leafs, and I'll go like 6 for Edmonton, Winnipeg. I guess we'll go to the West next here. Colorado, St. Louis there in the first matchup. I think Colorado is one of the best teams in the NHL, just like Toronto. So for me, they're taking out St. Louis. I mean, St. Louis, for a little bit there, looked like they weren't going to make the playoffs. Now, obviously, Tarasenko should be back. I know, he was back, then he's been out for a bit. He should be back, but I don't think it's going to be enough with McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog all healthy. Grubauer's back. Makar's healthy, playing like an absolute stud. I don't think St. Louis can match up with Colorado. Then you have Vegas, Minnesota. Minnesota, I think, one of the two biggest surprises this year, along with Florida. They're a good team, but Vegas, I think, is better. Just top to bottom, I think they have just as much offense, if not more. I think Vegas defense, especially with Pietrangelo now, just as solid as Minnesota's. Definitely have better goaltending, and the fact, they can ride the hot hand between Fleury or Leonard, I think is just huge in the playoffs. So I'm going with the Golden Knights there. In terms of the games, honestly, I think I could see the Avs sweeping the Blues. And then I think Vegas, I think Vegas and Colorado are just so much better than the rest of the teams in that division. I think Vegas takes up Minnesota in 5. I want to predict at least one sweep, have some fun with it, not just be boring and, pick 6 to 7 games for every single matchup. Pittsburgh Penguins and Islanders here. I'm not going to lie, this is actually the toughest matchup for me in the first round, which is kind of crazy as it's a 1 and a 4 seed. Also, guys, speaking of Pittsburgh being the number 1 seed, if you're one of the 108 people that thumbs up this comment on my season predictions, I feel like you owe me an apology at the very least. Leave a thumbs up on this video. I feel like Tactics is stuck in 2017. Apparently, I'm actually seeing into the future, into 2021. So, yeah, I kept the receipts. I think the Islanders are a very good team. Even though they're in the 4th spot, the Eastern Division was easily the toughest division this year. Most competitive. Rangers right in the top 16 teams, missed the playoffs. Flyers were a very good team until they just absolutely fell off there in the last third or so. So, Islanders, I like their goaltending a lot more. Varlamov has been amazing this year. Sorokin even can step up if he needs to. Their defense, I think, is better. You got Polak and Pelech as one of the best D pairs in the league. Barzal, if he can get going, is awesome. Now, Penguins, kind of like the Oilers, I really don't like betting against, some of the best players in the game. They've got Crosby. It's tough to pick against Sid the Kid. They got Gensel there. Obviously, we can't forget about Malkin either. And the Penguins have had a lot of injuries this year. They've dealt with them and still finished first in the division, which I think is very impressive. Having said that, I just have a gut feeling the Islanders are going to take this one. Now, I usually pick against the Islanders in the playoffs, and the last couple times they proved me wrong, so watch this be the time where I finally pick them, and they're going to make me look stupid. Washington, Boston here. For me, this is actually a really easy pick. I think it's Boston Bruins. I like their team a lot better. After acquiring Taylor Hall, they've just been on an absolute roll. I like the goaltending with Tuukka Rask. I think their defense is about equal, maybe a little lower, but in terms of offense, I think they have a lot more depth. Obviously, getting Ovi back is huge for them, but still, I just like to make up the Boston roster a little bit more. So, games here, again, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go 7 there for Pittsburgh Islanders, and I'll go 6 for Capitals and Bruins. Finally here, the Central Division, Carolina and Nashville. So, I do think Nashville finished the season pretty strong, but that was pretty much all to do with Saros' play. So, if Saros doesn't go God mode and absolutely carry the Predators, there's no way they win this series. And even if he does carry them, I don't know if he'll be able to carry them to 4 wins. I think maybe only 2 or 3. So I'm going to go with the Hurricanes here because I feel like Nashville just relies too heavily right now on Saros. And Carolina, obviously, very good offensive depth. Got some superstars, Aho, Svechnikov. Probably one of the best, if not the best, defense in the league. And Mrazek's been playing very well for them. And if he's not, they can still go to Nedeljkovic or Reimer. So a lot of options there. Now, Florida-Tampa Bay, the Battle of Florida. This one's going to be very interesting. As I mentioned, Minnesota and Florida, I think, are the 2 big surprise teams for me this year. Florida definitely even more so than Minnesota. I thought Minnesota would be like 5 or 4 battling for a playoff spot. Florida I didn't see even making the playoffs. The fact they finished second in the division, I think fourth in the NHL, something like that. Super dominant. Very impressive. Now, they don't have Aaron Ekblad, which is a big loss for them. And Tampa Bay gets back both Stamkos and Kucherov, which is just insane. Like, they're adding 2 superstars to their team at the playoffs. They're already third in the division. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about whether or not it's caps or conventions. It's definitely in a gray area because I'm sure Kucherov was probably ready a couple weeks ago and they said, you know, we're in a playoff spot. You might as well wait, come back during the playoffs. That way we don't have to worry about the salary cap. Stammer's probably actually supposed to come back around this time, but it's definitely convenient for them. But I think you can't underestimate just how good of a player Kucherov is. So even though Florida's been playing very well, you add Stamkos and you add Kucherov. Now, Florida did actually beat Tampa Bay in their last 2 games of the season, so that is very interesting to me. But the thing you have to remember is I think players do play different when things are on the line. For Tampa, Florida, really like nothing was on the line in those games. So I don't really know how much you can look at it. If anything, maybe it makes Tampa Bay a bit more aggressive. I like Tampa Bay more than Florida in this series, but I think it'll be a good one. So Carolina and Nashville, I think Saros can steal at least 1 game for Nashville, but probably that's it. So I'm going to go Carolina in 5. Tampa Bay, Florida, I think that one can go the distance. I'm going to go 7 games there. So, Toronto, Edmonton, first matchup in the North. This is going to be a really good one. Maple Leafs versus the Oilers. McDavid always plays good against Toronto. And as much as I like him, I like Draisaitl. I think the Maple Leafs just have way more depth. I like their goaltending better, whether it's Campbell or Anderson. I like their defense, I'd say just as much, if not a little bit better. Offense, for sure, they have way more depth. Either you can roll with the first line with Matthews and Marner, or you can roll with the second line with John Tavares and William Nylander. Edmonton has a McDavid line, and then they have a Draisaitl line, but like those pieces with them aren't quite as good. So I think Toronto being the more balanced team, especially with a bit more playoff experience now, is really going to help them. So I'm going to go with the Maple Leafs there, but I see there's no game total. I'm going to have that one going 6, probably 7. Islanders, Bruins, this should be a good one. And again, I really like the Boston Bruins in this year's playoffs. I think Taylor Hall really is just making them kind of go from like a contender, or I guess they're already a contender, but they're kind of like stepping up from like a sort of contender to a legit contender, if that's even a thing. So I like the Bruins in that one. I think Islanders maybe have a slight goalie edge on Rask, but you can't really, disregard how good Rask is. Defensively, I definitely like the Islanders better, but offensively, it's not even close with the Bruins. I think if we say the Bruins offense is better, the Islanders defense is better, goaltending's pretty similar. It's kind of a coin flip, but like I said, I just have a feeling it's going to be the Bruins. In the West, Colorado, Vegas, this will be a very good series. I like Colorado a little bit more than Vegas. I think goaltending-wise, Grubauer's been about as good as Fleury or Leonard. Maybe not, quite as good, but about. McCarr, I think, is going to have a huge playoff. The top line there. If Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen, if they can get going, you can't stop them. I have the Avs beating the Vegas Golden Knights. And then Tampa Bay, Carolina should be a very good one. In my mind, kind of the 2 top teams in the Central, not looking at, the numbers, just on paper, the 2 top teams. And I don't know, it's going to be a tough one. I do like Vasilevsky better in net. Carolina, I do like their defense more, but Tampa Bay's offense with Stammer, with Kucherov, so much depth there. I'm going to take the Lightning. So, final 4 here. It'll be Colorado versus Boston and Toronto versus Tampa Bay. Very interesting. So we actually have 3 Atlantic teams from like the actual divisions in the final 4, which would be pretty cool to see. So Colorado, Boston. As much as I like Boston this year, I think I like Colorado a little bit more. I know they were my pick, I think, to go the distance last season, and I think maybe this year they'll get it done. So I'm going to go with the Avs there. They kind of have like the same, top line when they want to as Boston, but theirs is a bit younger. I think McCarr is like slightly better than McAvoy. The rest of the defense is pretty similar. Actually, I think I'd give the edge to Colorado with Devin Tays, Samuel Girard. Goaltending, probably pretty equal, and goaltending's so fluky. Like, the worst goalie in the playoffs could just get hot and carry a team. You never really know. And then Toronto, Tampa Bay. Man, this one's so tough. I might actually need a minute here to think. Who do I think is going to win this? Honestly, guys, this Toronto Tampa Bay one is like a 50-50 for me, but I'm going to take the Maple Leafs. The reason is because at the beginning of the year, I had to make predictions who I thought was going to win the Stanley Cup and what the matchup would be. And I had the matchup being Colorado versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm going to stick to my prediction from the beginning of the year. And I had the Avs winning the Stanley Cup. I think if you look at it right now, Avs versus Toronto here. Offensively, it's pretty even. Defensively, I do like the Avalanche a bit more with McCarr, Girard, Tays, those guys I mentioned. Honestly, I feel like any 4 of the teams in the final here could easily win the Stanley Cup. But like I said, I'm just going to go with my gut from the beginning of the year and take the Avalanche. Also, right now I'm thinking if this were to happen, I feel like TSN Sportsnet would not stop talking about the fact that Kadri beat the Leafs. Like, it would just go on all summer. But next year, guys, like I said, we're going to try the playoff simulation now in NHL 21. and see how the results compare. Alright guys, so I just recreated every single matchup in the playoff mode for NHL 21, as well using the most authentic sim settings, so period length 20 minutes, game style, full sim, all that stuff. Now, I've already started simming. This is kind of crazy. So not only is there not a single series sweep, no series has even finished in 5 games, every single one is going to 6, potentially 7. But there you have our first elimination. Montreal beats Toronto in 6. Of course, one of the teams I picked to make the Stanley Cup final, but it's EA Sim, you know, we know from all the franchise, crazy stuff happens. The Blues beat the Avalanche as well, I just noticed, in 6 games. So my 2 teams in the Stanley Cup final, both eliminated first. Islanders there beat the Penguins. Let's see what happens. Carolina, Nashville, they go to 7. Edmonton, Winnipeg here, also going to 7. Vegas, Minnesota, also going to 7. This is pretty crazy, all the tight series. Same with Washington, Boston, and Florida beats Tampa there in 6 games. So Nashville, Carolina, Nashville wins in 7. Edmonton, Winnipeg, Winnipeg takes it. Wow. And then Minnesota beats Vegas. So far, pretty much the exact opposite of my picks. Boston beats the Capitals. So yeah, you have Winnipeg, Montreal, Minnesota, St. Louis. Literally the 4 teams I picked to lose on the left side, we'll call it. See what happens here with second round. So we're in the second round now, guys. And again, every single series went 6 or more games. We currently have Winnipeg, Montreal about to play game 7. St. Louis beat Minnesota in 6. Bruins beat the Islanders in 6. And then the Panthers beat the Predators in 6. And the current scoring leader is Shifley with 16 points in 13 games. So we'll sim this one. And Winnipeg do beat the Montreal Canadiens. Shifley actually had a couple more points. Now we got 18 and 14. Now before we keep simming, I gotta double check whether or not these 2 matchups could actually happen. So we'll have to recreate the matchups, guys, as Florida and Boston are a 2 and a 3 seed, and then Winnipeg and St. Louis are a 3 and a 4. So it'll be Florida versus St. Louis, the 2 and the 4, and then the 2 3s in Boston and Winnipeg. Quickly here, I'll just show you kind of through the first 2 rounds what it's looked like in terms of scoring. We know Shifley's in first. Barkov's got 15 and 12. He's playing really well. O'Reilly again making a run at the Conn Smythe. Huberdeau, Paul Stastny, kind of a surprise player there for the Jets. Coyle as well, Forsberg. Ehlers there, obviously the Jets getting him back will be huge. Roman Josi there looks to be the top scoring defenseman. We'll take a look at goalies next. So they all should have, yeah, pretty equal amount of wins. But save percentage, Bobrovsky looks to be leading there, the .931 at 2.37 goals against. So kind of be a comeback here for Bobrovsky. Everyone hating on him in his contract. If you can just kind of go God mode in the playoffs, which would be pretty cool to see. But like I was saying, guys, next year got to recreate the matchup, and then we'll keep going with the sim. Alright, guys, so we're in the conference final, though I know it's not quite the same this year. Winnipeg is 1 game away from eliminating the Boston Bruins. We'll see if they can get it done. And the Bruins hold on. St. Louis and Florida are tied 2-2. Florida gets the lead there. Boston, Winnipeg. Winnipeg still has a chance, and there they go. 6 games to take out Boston. Florida, chance to take out St. Louis, and they do it. Florida, Winnipeg, Stanley Cup final. I'm sure Gary Bettman would hate to see this. 2 pretty small markets going at it in the final, but it would be cool nonetheless. I don't think either of these teams obviously have ever won a Stanley Cup, so a new franchise will be winning the Stanley Cup for the very first time. We'll sim this one game by game. Blake Wheeler there, currently averaging a point per game. Perron, though, 6 and 6. For a second, I was really concerned there was some sort of glitch happening, but it's because he now has the same amount of points as Wheeler, but in 1 less game played, so that makes sense. Like I said, I was very concerned. Kyle Connor, it's 1-1. He's got 9 and 8. Winnipeg's now up 2-1 there. We'll keep it going towards the elimination game. Winnipeg's now up 3-1. Connor's got 12 points in 10 games. We'll simulate this one. We'll see who gets the Stanley Cup winning goal. Winnipeg's up 2-1. Wheeler, Stanley, Huberdeau for Panthers. 6-1. Looks like Winnipeg Jets win the Stanley Cup. And yeah, 8-2. So as well as Bobrovsky was playing, the Jets just went off on him. Win the Stanley Cup. They're in a 5-game series versus the Panthers. Blake Wheeler, 15 points in 11 games. Unless Connor Hellebuyck had insane stats in these last 2 rounds, Wheeler probably wins the Conn Smythe. Actually, Shifley there, 1 less point, and he was doing way better in the first 2 rounds. So it's probably Shifley, unless Hellebuyck went absolutely off. Wow, it's all Winnipeg for the first 5 guys. But Toronto's Panthers' highest scorer, that's not good. Barkov, Huberdeau have to do better. Let's see, Hellebuyck a .932 and a 1.84. So some really good numbers in the last 2 series. Yeah, so I'd say it's between him and Shifley there, toss-up for the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. But that's me, guys, for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed my picks. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this sim. As always, let me know in the comment section who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup. Would love hearing from you guys. If you did enjoy this one, leave that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the sub button. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.